Okay, in this tutorial we're going to create a Motorsports poster. Again, click on New File, and we're going to make this a 10 by 8 300 resolution RGB color mode, black background, sRGB color profile, and hit create. This will create your document. We can unlock this. Now, first things that we want to do is go into our rectangle tool, and up top we're going to make sure it's on shape. We're going to change this fill to none, and then the stroke doesn't really matter what color you pick, because we can change that. I mean, you can make it white, we can make it blue. If you want to get into your color picker, you would click on this little icon here, drag it around to whatever color you want, hit OK, and then we're going to make this stroke at 100. Okay, we're going to drag out a rectangle about like so, and I think that's too big, so let's make it 60. Okay, 60 will work, and then we'll go ahead and drag out another one like about so. So we have these two shapes. So click on your top rectangle, hold down shift, click on your other, right click, merge shapes, and it's going to create this. Okay, so now we want to center it up. So if we click on our move tool, click your three dots, make sure you're set on align to canvas, hit center, and we're good to go there. Control or Command T, right click inside, we're going to select skew, and if you hold down Alt or Option, it will skew everything. If you only skew the top, it'll go like that, so we need to reset that. Just want a quick tip there. Hold down or right click, click on skew, hold down Alt or Option to skew it, and we're going to go to about 20 degrees, minus 20. You can come up here to this little section here and hit minus 20 if you want to be exact, and then you would hit your check mark or enter to accept changes. So we have this now. Now we're going to make a copy of it by hitting Control or Command J, enter. Okay, so we have our copy, but we want to make this one smaller, so Control or Command T, and if you hold down Alt or Option and drag, it's going to drag it in from the center, and I just want to create kind of this look like so. Okay, double click on it and we will create a drop shadow for this one, just so it kind of looks like it's on top of the other one. Alright, so we'll hit OK. So this is the basis, the start of our thing. We can put these in a group, it would probably be a good idea. So we'll click on this one, click on both of them, holding shift, and we'll just call this rectangles. Boom, and we're done. Okay, so now let's create some little things on the sides and up here in the corner. We could do this with the rectangle tool again. Let's start at the top. We'll drag out a rectangle like so. We don't want it to be a stroke though. So go up here, change our fill, turn our stroke off. We have that. Now, we know that we skewed these rectangles minus 20, so if we go to Control or Command T, we can right click, we can hit skew, and then we can just go in the H and hit minus 20, and it will be congruent with everything else. We can make a copy of this, Control J, Control T, we'll drag it down into this corner here, and it's all lined up. Okay, so this is kind of a basis of what we have working. Okay, let's create some more little lines over here. Let's grab a new layer. Let's go to our pen tool this time, and we're on shape. Let's change our fill to the blue that we've been using. And we can style all these colors. Like I said, it doesn't matter what color you're using to start with. And we're going to kind of make our screen a little bit bigger. Control plus, and then if you hold your space bar down, you can drag around here. Drag a ruler down to the top of this so we kind of have like a guideline to work with. And I'm just going to make a point right here. If we hold shift, it'll go straight. Go like so. I just want to make sure that that was straight to start with, and then hold shift, come down here. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, because to line this up, we want to kind of be about like so. And if it doesn't look like it's jiving, we can hit our control, hover over this point, hold down control or command, and we can kind of move it around like so. That looks okay. And then we will come up here to complete. So we have this shape here. And then what I want to do here is just copy it, Control J or Command J, Control T, and then we'll just kind of scoot it over like so, and then down a couple like so. Hit enter and hit enter. And this is just going to be a mask template. So if we control click on this, you see how the Martian ants came up. And then if we go down to our bottom shape, if we hit the mask button, it will mask out this part, right? But we want it to do the opposite. So we can click on our mask and just hit Control I. It will invert it. Now we can't really tell that we did what we did because this layer is still active, this little template layer we did. If we turn it off, we have that, and then we can just delete that. And we have this going on for design, right? Let's make a copy of this again. Or you know what? Command Z. I want to use this again. Let's grab this shape copy here. We're going to control click on it. Add a new layer. Grab our gradient tool. And this gradient is just like a kind of like a blue to white. You can do that, and then I'm just going to drag down a gradient like so. Control D. And what I want to do here is to mask most of this out. Okay, so I want to control click on this again. Go up to select, modify, contract, and let's see what 40 looks like. Okay, 40 will probably work good, and it'll just give us this little gradient line. And now we can, if you hit Alt or Option and hit your layer mask, it will do that. And then we can turn this off. So we have our little, kind of like our little stripe, I guess you would call it. So we have that. We can delete this layer. We don't need it anymore, I don't think. And yeah, I think that looks okay. Alright. This layer here is our stripe, right? Say we want to use this again or move it. Let's just apply the layer mask, and then it's just going to be this little line. If we hit Control or Command T, we can move this over and down a little bit like so. Make a copy, Control or Command J, Control T. Let's drag this up over here to see what it looks like. And I kind of want to make it line up with this. That's pretty close. Okay, so this is just the basis of our background elements. So we can kind of just group all these together, and we can just call them BG elements, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, so now that we have that, we can get rid of this guideline. We don't need it. If you just click on your move tool and you hover over it till the little lines show up, you can just grab it and drag it up. If you don't see your rulers, Control R or Command R will show them. So we have that. Alright, so on our rectangles here, let's add some styling. Let's add some styling. We can style them all together because they're in a group. If we double click on them, and then we add our gradient overlay on top of it, and we have that. And that's kind of the look I'm looking for, but a little bit less. So we added this black and gray. This gray color is 77767B if you want to use that same color. And then we just drug down our opacity a little bit. But you know what, too? We could just bring our opacity all the way up and add a stroke on the inside. And go like that. Now we have this, this design. There's just so many choices to do. I think I like it like this. This little, it's an 8 point. Alright, and then maybe let's change this to this blue color. Okay, so we have that. And I kind of like the effects on that. We could do this same effect to the background elements. If we hold down Alt, drag up, it's going to put that on everything. I don't like it. Let's Control or Command Z. We can style those separately. Just go in and make your changes. Gradient overlay, stroke inside, and then maybe bring this down to like a 1 or a 2, 3, 4, something like that. Okay, and then I want to style everything except for these rectangles here. So to this line, we'll drag down our effects holding Alt, and it'll apply to those. And then we could just right click and hit copy layer style. This will save us some time. And this is that line, right? So we could right click, paste layer style on that. Enter. Do we like it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's turn it off on that one. Okay, let's go to our rectangle. This is our bottom lower one. We can add our gradient overlay to this. Drag down our opacity. I like that look. And then we can just hold down Alt and drag it to this other rectangle. So we have everything styled out how we want it. You can do your own styling, whatever you feel like you need. Okay, so let's add some other really quick things to this. If we go to our bottom layer, let's add a gradient. Let's go into blues, and this is going to be like design choice specific, however you want to do it. I want this color here, but darker. Maybe like so. And we can click on this color again, drag it out, and make it a little bit lighter. Like so. And what we're doing here is we're just kind of creating a little bit of a background. So let's add some texture to it. So let's add a pattern. Okay, I don't want these trees. So if we click on it, there is legacy patterns and more. I'm going to use this stone one right here. Okay, to get to those, if you don't have those patterns, if you click on your patterns, click on your triple lines here, and put append or legacy patterns and more right here. If you click on that, it will load all those patterns into your Photoshop. Alright, so once we have this, if we right click and hit create clipping mask, it doesn't really do much, right? So let's release the clipping mask. Let's take this and rasterize it. Delete the layer mask, we don't need it. Let's add some levels to this pattern fill. So you hit your clipping. Let's drag our mids in like so. Maybe about like that. And then I'm going to take these and merge them. So Control or Command E. We're going to right click, create clipping mask, set this to maybe multiply. Bring the opacity down a little bit. Okay, now I want to mask this. So layer mask, we can just grab a polygonal lasso tool and kind of go as close as you can to the insides of these, because all I want it to do is create a background in here. Okay, I don't want the outsides. So if we right click and apply the layer mask, if we hit Alt or backspace to fill it, it's doing the total opposite of what we want. So if we hit Control or Command D to deselect, click on our layer mask, and then hit Control or Command I to invert it, and now it's just on this rectangle. Okay. Perfect, right? Not really. I want to use a different pattern on this as well. So the stone one has this stone sandstone. So we're going to do the same process to this. And we don't really have to create a levels adjustment to this. We can just change the blend mode. Maybe do it on vivid light, and then we can just bring down the opacity of that. And then I don't want it to affect this part, so if we hold down Alt and drag our layer mask to that, replace layer mask, yes, we'll do that, but then we need to flip this mask as well. So Control I. So now this stone pattern is just affecting all the outside and not affecting this. Okay, I think I want to change the colors though. Let's go ahead and click on our gradient, click on our stops, and maybe do we can do maybe some red. And maybe this color here, 1D, 1F20. Something like so. We hit OK. Click on our gradient. We need to bring this opacity down because it's a really strong effect. Okay, like so. And that is basically your background. Okay, you can add other things to it. Using a pen tool or using your polygonal lasso tool. You hold down Control Z. You hold down Control, you can drag this handle to kind of match up the angle. Okay, you'd have that. Hold down Shift. Kind of looks wonky. It'd be easier to just do a rectangle, right? Let's grab a rectangle. Shape, no stroke. Drag it out like so. Enter. Control T. Right click. Skew. -20. -20. Enter. Enter. Okay, Control J to make a copy, Control T, come on over here, like so. Okay, we can merge these together or group them, double click, add a gradient to it. We have those, that looks okay. Alright, So we have that. We can add a new layer. Let's play around with the polygonal lasso tool, and if we hold down shift, it'll make a straight line. Come to about here. You know what we could have done that would be a little bit easier instead of doing it this way. Let's add a gradient. Control D. Instead of doing it that way, you can just select your rectangle. That's the right one. This is the left one. If you control click it, add a new layer. Let's bring it to the top. Select, modify, contract by 40. Grab our gradient that we already have. Let's change this color to a little bit darker gray, like so. Hit OK. And then we can grab our gradient like so. I don't understand why it rounded, but anyways. Make a copy, Control J, Control T, hold down Alt, make it smaller, move it inside a little bit, hit enter, double click on it, make a drop shadow of it, and we're just kind of making little weird elements. Alt, drag up to make a copy, Control T, we'll bring it over here, right click, flip horizontal, right click, flip vertical. You're in there like so. Let's grab this one as well, make a copy, Control J, Control T, flip horizontal, right click, flip vertical, drag it over here behind this one. However you want to do it. So you're just creating little different designs. I think it needs to move over, so we'll hit our move tool. V is in Victor. We'll move this over. Maybe move it up a little bit. Just kind of place it where you want. Okay, so we have all these extra pieces that we made. We can add some more. Maybe let's add one more stripe in here. Let's do that with a pen tool. Pen tool, no fill. Let's do a color. Let's make it about 15. We'll hit enter, and we'll just come in here like so. Hold down shift right to about here. That's going to be way too big. I don't know why it didn't. Okay, let's back out. Let's set this to 15. Enter. Okay, that's more better. Okay, so the angle is off a little bit. If you hit Control or Command, you can mess around with it. You have that. And you could go ahead and make a copy of this and flip it around. Control J, Control T, flip horizontal, drag it over here. Did that work? That didn't even work. Flip vertical. That's what I was doing. So flip and flip. And we have that. So this is your design. Kind of long-winded as usual, but I'm just kind of showing you different things that you can do to just make designs. We can put drop shadows on these shapes also. Bam. Drop shadow. If you bring your size down, it'll be more of a hard line. As you see, it's more of a hard line. I'll pass these all the way up. You bring your spread up. Okay, if your spread's all the way at 0 and you bring your size, it's just going to kind of blur it. Just play around with it. You want to do the same thing to the other one, you can just hold down Alt, drag it down, and boom, you have your little drop shadows on there. Alright, so now that we have all that out of the way, we want to add an image. So File, Place Embedded, and go into whatever folder you have your image saved in, and let's grab this guy here. We'll place this image in like so. Now, this is where you need to spend some time masking out the car. Alright, I'm not going to spend time masking out the car a lot in this tutorial, but if we click on this, make sure you're on your layer, go up to this tool. You may have object selection tool, but I leave it on magic wand. If we go to our menu bar up here, click on cloud and then click on select subject, it will cut this car out pretty quickly and pretty precise. It does a pretty good job most of the time. Today is not that day, but that's alright. Okay, so just a really quick cleanup on this, because I don't want to spend a lot of time showing people how to mask this out. Alright, so we want to get rid of this guy because it's not part of the car. We're on add to selection here. You're probably on new selection. Okay, you can leave this on here. If we want to remove, we're going to hold down Alt and watch, this will change to a minus. Okay, so if we just kind of go along the car, and I really recommend just using a pen tool to do this because you'll have a lot nicer selection. Go around, and then when that turns to a circle, you hit that, and now this guy is going to be gone. Around here, like this, we want to add this, so we would hold down Shift and it changes to a plus. So we want to add the rest of this tire in, and like I said, you really don't want to do it this way because your selection is not going to be clean, your mask is not going to be clean, but you would want to use a pen tool. Okay, use your pen tool, learn how to use it, draw around it, make your selections. Okay, once it's selected how you want it to be, then you would just hit your mask button and it's cut out. Now see just how choppy and stuff it is. I mean, it looks horrible. So you want to really take your time and mask it out properly. Okay, so we're going to kind of cheat a little bit and grab our brush tool. So you hit B for brush, grab our brush tool. We're on a soft and round brush. It's this one here under general brushes, 100 and 100. If you hit your right and left bracket, it's going to make it bigger. Now we want stuff to come back. Okay, so we're on our mask. We want stuff to show, so we need to make sure that we have white selected. So if you hit X, if you're black and white, if you hit X, it'll change it to white. And we can just kind of bring in this car like so. Alright. Say we did a little bit too much, which we did. We just hit X to turn it back to black, and then we'll just kind of mask it back out. Okay, so this is a horrible mask. I'm not condoning to do it this way, but this is a start. You'd want to spend as much time as possible to make it look good. Alright, so I think I want to make the car bigger. So we already have a mask on the car, so if we hit Control T and drag this out, we now have our car a little bit larger. Okay, so we have that, and you can make other changes to your mask if you wanted to. This is really bugging me because I like to be perfect, but it will take a lot of time to mask it out. Well, not really, maybe 10 minutes. Okay, so let's add some text, and then we're going to be about done. So horizontal type tool. Let's go to this Sofa Chrome. You don't have to use this font, but I like using it on these Motorsports ones. The Sofa Chrome Book Italic. Change our color to white. We're gonna add some effects anyways, and we just kind of click in to the center somewhere, and then we're gonna type out this guy's name, which is Zimmerman, I think, with one N. Okay, Control or Command T, and if we hold down Alt, it will bring it in from the, or it will stretch it out from the center points. Okay, we'll add some layer effects. So I already have this chrome style that I like to use. It's this one. Basically, it has a bevel and emboss, inner bevel, chisel hard, 157 depth to recreate this. Direction up, size 11, and then the soften is 1. These are the angles, 93 and 42, and then this gloss contour is this double ring double. Anti-aliased. The highlight mode is hard at 97 with white. The shadow mode is multiply black 88%. Okay, then we have another contour on it. Let's bring this up a little bit. Maybe to about 63. It's this little curvy one, which is this one. I forget what it's called. Half round. Okay. Then we added an inner shadow, linear dodge, a white 94%, 907. Okay, everything else stays the same. Now the gradient overlay, this one has quite a few things going on with it. Okay, it has this, that's a total white, and then it has a gray, grayish color, A5, AA, A9. It has that, and then it has another gray, well, off-white, E7, E9, E9. Okay, and then it has a black. Okay, and then it has another gray over here, AC, 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 and that's at spot 87. And then it has at spot 100, just a regular normal white. Now I like to take this black and change it to a color of maybe a deeper, darker blue. Maybe like this. We'll hit OK. Alright, so I like that, and then it has a drop shadow, opacity of 80. Okay, you can play around with this. Distance of 6, spread 0, and then size 32. Okay, you can play with all these settings. You don't have to use this exact stuff. This is just going to create this. Looks like an old chrome emblem that you would see on a car. Alright, so we can, now that this is all done and styled how we want, right click, convert to smart object. So you convert it to a smart object because we're going to warp it a little bit, and if you don't turn it into a smart object and you warp it, the gradient is going to look funny. Okay, so if we go to edit, transform, warp, I'm just going to do a small arch about a -20. That might be a little bit too much, so if we Control Z, edit, transform, warp, arch, let's do like -15. Enter, enter. That accepted all the changes. Okay, and we can just put this as whatever text that you're going to use. You can do the car, you can do what event it was at, so on and so on. So let's just create a new type layer. We already have our type tool selected. Let's just click in here and we'll type in, I'm not sure what year this is. I think it's a 71, but I'm not going to put it. Might be a 70. We'll just say it's a 70, and I can stand corrected. No big deal. You can bring this to wherever you like. We'll just say it's right here, and we'll add our layer style effects again. And basically, if you click on everything that you just already did, it will work out for the most part, because it's going to remember. And then, as you notice, we had to mess around with depth and size because smaller type looks a little bit different. So the bevel is going to work with whatever size text that you have. So if you go with a smaller text, then you're going to have to change these settings to make it look right. If you're going with a different font, you're also going to have to mess around with the settings, okay? But it's just click on everything, play around with it till it looks right, okay? I think this looks good like so. Now, the only thing is it kind of is hard to read. Okay, so let's add underneath this layer. So we'll add a new layer. Let's grab a rectangle. In this rectangle, I know it's set to stroke, but so I should have changed it. Okay, let's change the stroke to no, and let's change the fill to whatever color we're going to use. Okay, edit, transform, skew, -20. Enter, enter. Okay. And then we can add some effects to this. Double click. Let's go to show all effects. Let's add a gradient overlay. And let's add something that is not that chrome. We'll just say this black, gray, black. Okay. It's set on 90. Maybe let's bring our scale down, and then we can drag on this gradient also. We drag on it to maybe go like so. We'll hit OK, and then maybe let's go ahead and put a stroke on this too. So go back to it, double click on it, hit your stroke, hit your color. Let's pick this blue. Let's see if it even is showing up. And we'll go like that. Okay, I think that is good. And maybe you can do whatever you want. Okay, maybe then we'll kind of play around with this Zimmerman text also. We could grab a new layer, control click on the text itself, go to select, modify, expand. Let's see what expand by 40 looks like. Okay, this may work. Let's fill it. We're going to fill it with the background color. So if you hit Control or Command and then delete or backspace, it will fill it. And then Control D to deselect. And we need to put this layer underneath, like so. So we have that. And then maybe we want to add a stroke. So double click, add a stroke that's on the inside. Let's bring it up to 13. We'll hit OK. And then if we bring our fill down, it's just going to be a stroke around that text, which looks cool. Alright, I think we need to add that gradient overlay. Double click, gradient overlay. maybe something like so. Okay, the stroke is too light of a color. Let's maybe change this to this darker blue. Maybe like so. Alright, so that's just kind of playing around and making a design. We used the pen tool, we used some rectangles, we used the lasso tools, we did some chrome effects, a bunch of different styling. We did a horrible mask on the car, but like I said, take your time on that and you'll have a much better result. I think that would be it. You can play around, put some stuff up here, maybe put some stuff in this block, add some logos, do whatever you like, but this is just kind of an example of using different tools to make different designs pretty simply and pretty quickly.